about this. So good morning, everybody. My name is Elizabeth Horleman, the one that is causing a lot of problems in Instagram with my Rethink account, which is actually an account that is bringing more awareness, particularly to the white people, about how we're responding to racism. The aim of that Rethink is actually to take the focus away from the victims and to give it back to the people who are, the architects of the systematic racism, to reflect on how they too are able to, to just play a role and ally with us in terms of trying to break down a system which I think everybody by now is pretty much aware that it has to go down anyway in order for us to live amicably in this one world that we have, the one planet. So I just want to give up to Vicky, who is going to be leading the discussion, and I will tandem with her in terms of the feminism, because she's actually writing a book which is also going to, I hope, give a bit of a highlight, which is actually focusing again on the topic of feminism. So Vicky, can I give you the floor?
Okay, yes. Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Vicky Nyanga. I'm the CEO at Project Esperanza CIC.
Just put the microphone a bit higher.
I'm the CEO of Project Esperanza CIC in Scotland, Edinburgh, and my work started around doing church-related community work many years ago. And then, as you would know, working with refugees and asylum seekers, there's a lot of stuff to do with social justice and immigration law and stuff like that. So I kind of like found myself where I am purely accidentally. It wasn't my intention. It was just through the sort of work that I did that I then developed an interest in whiteness, so to speak, because I could really see how it was affecting many people in many areas of their lives. However, my background is in theology. I studied contextual theology at university, which then led to my church-related work. So this morning, should I go right ahead, or shall
Yes,
I
please. Yes,
allow
please.
everyone to introduce themselves?
Yeah, I think it would be great for those who want to introduce themselves. I've seen two people with muted mics, but Tony, would you like to introduce yourself?
Ob ich mich vorstellen
Yes,
möchte?
ja, ob du dich vorstellen möchtest, auf Englisch oder auf Deutsch. But,
yes, so, I can try in English.
Okay.
My name is Tony. I'm from Hamburg. I'm 33 years old, and I'm just interested in that. Was ist Thema?
Topic.
Yes, in that topic, because before, I think 1 week, you make a post on Instagram and make a short text, and I want to know more about the topic white feminism.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's why I'm here.
Okay, we are welcome.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. So Halimatu, can you hear us? Okay, I think that we can just go on Vicky. When she manages to get back, I think with the technique, then she can just, introduce herself then.
Okay, well, as we don't have long, I'll just breeze through what feminism is, what white feminism is, what intersectional feminism is, what womanism is, and what Africana womanism is to start with. So white feminism is the advocacy of women's rights on the grounds of the equality of the sexes. Sorry, that's feminism, sorry. And so white feminism focuses on the struggles of white women without addressing the distinct forms of oppression faced by non-white women, right? Many non-white people have found that it's toxic and it's selfish, and some say it's rooted in white supremacy. Intersectional feminism is the total opposite of white feminism, and it acknowledges that all women have different experiences and identities, and it focuses on how systems of power affect moving on to womanism. Womanism is a form of feminism that acknowledges women's natural contribution to society, and this term is used in distinction to the term feminism because of its association to white women only. Lastly, Africana womanism is an ideology applicable to all women of African descent, and it is grounded in African culture and Afrocentrism. It also focuses on the experiences, the struggles, needs, and desires of African women of the African diaspora. So, in a nutshell, that's basically what we'll be talking about today.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting that I came across this topic. I never really knew of the existence actually of women feminism in terms of racism, particularly being a person that comes from Africa. I mean, we're not really we've never really focused on this white feminism. It wasn't until I read the book. Can you all see that? The book
Yes.
by Rennie
Yes.
Edo. Did I come to contact, with white feminism? And when I did a research, I just realized for myself just how much I have been really compromising, diverting my life and trying to live around a topic that I could never really describe or never really knew. How should I should I define this, what I'm going through? So it wasn't until I really came across this young lady's book that the definition of white feminism did make sense to me.
Okay. Is it Tony? Tony, you want to have something to say? Is it Tony? Sorry.
Yes, she's got turn.
No, I listen.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
She wants.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Liz.
No, I'm okay. I've just.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, in a nutshell, that's basically what it is. And being an African woman myself, I've found it really frustrating, living in Europe, and I'm sure many other people would attest to this. Many other African people would attest to this because in the relationships that we have with people, with white people, we always have to question where they stand in what in as far as this feminism is concerned. Um, whether it's the head teacher in your child's school, whether it's your MP, whether it's your doctor or your nurse, you know, um, these people, who have a lot to do with our lives, determine very much of our lives depending on where they stand on this feminism scale. Because as I said before, white feminism is a feminism that is rooted in white women's issues. So very, very often Black women are, left behind, and it's not intentional. It's just that we tend to be overlooked.
Mm. When I looked at, when I found out that the other historical background of this white feminism was the discussions on Twitter with Nicki Minaj and on Taylor Swift's Twitter exchange on the critics of HBO girls. I'm not sure what that means, but apparently that is what really kind of like resurfaced or brought it really much more out on the surface when now we were really, that we are really having these discussions that we're having more intensively right now. But it's not as if that the historical background of the white feminism is something that is so new. I remember that when we were having these discussions, Vicky, you kind of made a statement which I recorded, I noted down because I thought I was going to remember it, but my bad memory is about how walking under umbrella and we are on the rain, we're getting wet.
All right, yes. So basically, what that was about is, and I can't remember off the top of my head what I said exactly, but it was more or less uh, like, we're in this sisterhood together, this feminism sisterhood, we're invited in, we're asked to stand in line, we're asked to march, we're asked to protest, you know, and whilst we do all that, you know, we hold the umbrella, you know, for these white women. And when it comes raining down hard, you know, we're outside of the umbrella and they're under the umbrella, and
Yeah.
we're basically wet
Yeah.
from the rain. And what that is I was just simply trying to say that there's a great sense of betrayal, you know, when it comes to white women asking us to rally around for, you know,
Rights.
issues, rights, so to
Mhm.
speak. But then within that, you know, we still find that we don't really have that much rights. And yes, I know that initially it was about, you know, the right to vote, you know,
Yes.
and then after that, it was the right for women to go to work and not just stay home and have children. And then nowadays, we're talking about things like equal pay to our male counterparts and stuff like that. But if you look back down in history, you know, when some of these women had to go out and go and march, you know, it was the Black women that had to stay home because these women would have had kids. You know, they were coming from environments where they were married women that didn't really do much in society. They weren't allowed to do much in society. They just had to stay home and be wives, and they were tired of that. And so what happened was they needed to be protesting about that, but obviously they needed some people to stay home with their children whilst
Mm-hmm.
they went out to do these protests.
Yeah.
And in many cases, it was Black women that stayed behind to look after the white women's children whilst they went out to protest. When they got their rights to work, again, it was Black women that stayed behind to work in their homes, you know, clean their houses, do their laundry, cook their food, and all of that whilst they were in the office, you know, being equal to their men, you know. So I do feel in that sense that there was a great sense of betrayal because when all of that happened for them, you know, nobody thought, well, hang on a minute, uh, we need to do the same for all women. You know, it wasn't like that. You know, it was for their cause. It was for them to be where they needed to be, and we were just like in olden times left in the position where we were of servitude to them. You know, and nowadays we talk of you know, unequal pay and all this sort of stuff. But what you do find if you bother to do the research is you know, a white woman will always have more pay than a Black woman within the same rank, you know.
Mhm.
So even when we speak of equal pay, you know, more equal pay with our male counterparts, Black women are still often left behind, you know, with that. And what annoys me the most is when I see white women on the TV speak on this issue, I never, or I very rarely, in fact, I've never, I'll just be totally honest, heard a white woman say, you know, and this Black lady who works in my office, she needs those rights too, you know.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I got a call from a lady the other day.
Mm.
In Germany, apparently, right now, the wages or the salaries of the people in the care industry is being kind of elevated to kind of, you know, first to appreciate and also to correct those to correct those significant or to bring back the significance of carers in place. And I get a call from a lady, an African lady, who tells me that apparently her boss has applied for this money, and the money is going to be, everybody's going to get a pay increase. And and one of her friends is also white, and we have also hierarchy in the color white, in the melanin color. So one of the Turkish girls who is white told her they have got the pay increase. So when she went and she asked why isn't she getting this pay increase, particularly taking into consideration that they were getting, you know, these funds being given by the government as subsidies. Her boss told her, well, in your case, we'll have to first of all review and see when it will, you know, when there will be sufficient money for you to get pay. You know, the Black employees were kind of like singled out in this pay increase, and that is happening right here and today. And there is no way that you can go in and prove, because salaries are deemed to be secret here in this country. You're not supposed to be exposing how much salary you're earning to anybody. It is also seen culturally as not appropriate to talk about your salaries or what you're earning. So when she told me that, I kind of like felt helpless again. Here is again somebody who is just contributing just as hard to make sure that we are fighting one cause, and that is the coronavirus, yet that is not being appreciated with the same tenors as would be for the other colleagues. So that is why one needs to question white feminism, because if that is what I want our white people to ally with us, it should be something that they should say, no, if I'm getting it, they should also get it.
Yeah. Can ich?
Yeah.
I need to prove that I understand everything right. So white feminism is if white women, they are totally accepted in this rassistische Gesellschaft. They are talking about women's problems, but they don't support her friends, her black woman friends. They make, also sie schieben die schwarzen Frauen weg. Und sie sagen, guck mich an, aber sie haben nichts, sie haben keinen Widerstand. Sie sind total in der Gesellschaft angenommen und sie schieben aber alle anderen Menschen einfach weg.
Korrekt.
Sie nutzen es für, also wie eine Modeerscheinung.
Richtig.
Just use it.
Yes,
okay.
Die verkaufen ein Paket, komm mal mit, wir wollen zusammen gegen diese Ungerechtigkeit kämpfen. Wir als Frauen müssen Zusammenhalt machen. Wir kaufen das, wir nehmen das an, gehen auf dieses sogenannte Krieg, stellen aber fest, dass die Ernte wird nicht gerecht geteilt. Ne?
Und dann wollen sie am Ende mehr für sich und sie sagen, das Beispiel, was du genannt hast, zum Beispiel eine weiße Frau, sie ist mit einem weißen Mann verheiratet, bekommen beide viel Geld. Sie geht raus und sagt, equal pay, aber sie selber stellt vielleicht eine schwarze Frau ein und sagt, du kriegst nur ganz wenig Geld, wenn du auf meine Kinder aufpasst. Nein,
was der Vicky gesagt haben, ist, es ist so, während die Zeit, das ist eine längere Zeit, als wir gekämpft haben, oder als die Frauen damals gekämpft haben, um Gerechtigkeit, um Frauenrechte, das würde allgemein, als alle Frauen brauchen diese Rechte. Nur die schwarzen Frauen konnten meinetwegen zu dieses Demos nicht gehen oder irgendwelche, ne, oder irgendwas bei die Politiker, bei diese sogenannte Recht, wo man das Recht jetzt in Entwurf machen, weil die schwarzen Frauen mussten zu Hause bleiben, damit die weißen Frauen zu dieses Aufgaben wahrnehmen. Und die schwarzen Frauen bleiben zu Hause, damit die Kinder auf die weißen Frauen aufpassen.
Genau, aber keiner hat die schwarzen Frauen supported. Sie sind okay, danke, ich habe verstanden.
Gut.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
nice.
So just to elaborate on that, I picked up here and there what that was about, but just to elaborate here on that, well, firstly, I'll just go back to the scenario that you mentioned about this lady in the job. You would think the white women in that scenario, the case of the lady in the nursing home, you would think in that scenario, her white co-workers, would ask transparency around pay issues. And I know you said that, pay, salary, wages is a private matter. It is, I agree, even here it is. But in a situation where the white women, our white sisters, need to show us where they stand, that they stand with us, then they make the admin of workplaces accountable to show transparency and just to prove that everybody is getting paid equally. That shows the allyship, that admin make it clear that everybody gets equal pay, I would like, if I was in the situation of that lady, to have co-workers that would stand behind me in that way, you know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
in most
genau.
cases, people just keep quiet and pretend it's not happening and look the other way and get on with their lives. You know, can I just read a little bit of a chapter I wrote, right?
Yeah.
So, and it's pertaining to all the stuff that we've said, and it basically says here that white women have contributed to some of the social problems in Black communities and are clearly representative of the patriarchy when it comes to oppression, racism, and segregation. Because, for example, according to a time in history, white midwives were known to classify the race of babies that they delivered. White female nurses and medical assistants participated in the forced sterilization of Black women and continue to do so in some African countries.
Mm.
White female judges sent poor Black women to prison for petty crimes or punish Black single mothers with going to great lengths to put their children up for adoption or into foster care. In this instance, it is easy to see how white women take away Black women's rights to mother their own children. White women will judge us as unfit to mother because of the because for the most part we spend less time with our children because we have to be in the job. You know, we don't have the luxury of two incomes in the home because some of us are single parents. You know, single parenthood is forced upon us in many ways. You know, and in context to here in England. I mean, here in the United Kingdom, a lot of women would be single parents or would have a single income because maybe one partner is in a detention center or in a prison, or they are actively having one income in the home because the other partner doesn't have immigration status and has no right to work, you know. And then when they go to the job, they have to stay long in the job, and the children are alone, and all this sort of stuff, you know. And again, we don't hear our white sisters saying anything about this or speaking against
Mm.
it. You know? White
Mm.
female teachers, you know, have taken students out of classrooms, you know, and even back in history, if a child was suspected of being mixed race, you know, there was an issue. You know, the child would automatically be stereotyped. You know, white female teachers will suggest or recommend that Black kids need to go into special class because, again, there's this idea that Black people aren't that bright. So whenever a white teacher has a Black student in the classroom, that child is automatically singled out for extra classes, extra lessons, special classes, because there's this understanding that this child may not do well, you know. So in a nutshell, white women have helped to maintain and preserve the longevity of other forms of colonial systems that have plagued Black people and Black people's livelihoods, and continue to help put bigoted men in power. And I mean, we see that with what happened in America. I don't really want to use the examples in this country, but it happened here too. But in America, uh, and the statistics are out there, you know, I think it was 52% of white women voted for Donald Trump. As
I,
much
Yeah,
I've never
52.
really,
say,
I've never really
I
understood.
think it's
Oh my,
52. I'm not sure.
it's 52.
Yeah.
It
Right,
is.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
So,
that's
so 52% of white women, right,
Yeah.
thought
Uh,
Donald Trump was fit to be their leader, even though, you know, he's racist, you know, he's bigoted, he's
yes.
homophobic, he's everything you can think of, you know. And I mean, he's abusive even to them, you know,
the
even
white
to white
women.
women themselves. But
Yeah.
they saw it fit to put him in power. And this is where you see, you know, that there's a problem with this white feminism and what's
Yeah.
good for them and what's good for us, because you know, and of course, I'm not in the position to speak on behalf of white people, white women. I can only speak from where Black people see it from a Black person's perspective. You know,
Mm.
it doesn't make sense. Where is the allyship? You know, you put someone like that in power. Is that good for non-white people? Is that good for migrants? Is that, and as we've clearly seen in America, it's a big disaster over there.
Yes.
You know.
I just wanted to talk about how the the role of what whiteness play in creating things like the beauty standards. And you know, for example, a white woman, you know, in a swimming costume, being photographed from the back is considered to be okay, and a black is not considered to be
Yes.
okay. Or for instance, in the ice skating, there is the first black French woman that was ice skating, that she brought that you know, rolling and spinning. I love ice skating, by the way. And she was discounted severally for doing this very, you know, this artistic thing on the ice skating, because it was considered to be unfair, because other people could not do this. And then years later, the whites are doing it, and now it is considered to be okay. So a Black American woman came up also and did some, I don't know what they're called, some kunst on ice, no, very mesmerizing. And she was discounted again, because, you know, obviously black, but when a white does it, then we're, you know, we're shifting always those standards all the time. It must be initiated this side and never that side. So this also has a very large effect on us, you know, as Black women, or, you know, people of color, in the sense that we are, some of her suffering from very low self-esteem. So you're going to see those beauty standards where you hear people are bleaching their faces, where you hear women are trying to, you know, to make their curls flatter, you know, just so that you can pass for that 1 minute and have that 1 minute of peace, of belonging to a society, of belonging, of finding a place or space in that area. So for us is this whiteness, or the white women whiteness defining what is beauty, dawns. It drains. It starts from going to shopping, where you do not find your own makeup. You have to use a combination of makeup to get that skin tone color. We're apparently over 1 million in this country, but you do not find, for example, in shops, a whole row of products just for us, for our hair texture, for our skin color, for our, you know, obviously the melanin has, you know, different, it comes with the different textures. And the hair texture of ours, I was listening to Jane Elliott this morning, where she said everybody is black. It's just that when people migrated and came towards the north, the temperatures changed, the food diets changed, and stuff like that. And that is why we're seeing the melanins were reduced, the hair colors, texture changed to mirror match the climate here. And ours is, you know, on the other side, a different hair texture, needing a different product. No, when my husband looks at my hair products, he just says it is too much. But it's simply because we don't have our products on those shelves, and we've
Yes.
come to a point where we are not even bothered anymore to be heard. We're doing our own things, we are helping our own selves, we're defining also our hair textures, number 4, 1B, 1A, you know, we're doing our own things, and we're really tired. Sorry, yes, Tony?
Yes. Yes, I think that's definitely a big thing. I'm a hairdresser in Germany, and before, I think maybe 10 years, I talked with in German, it's Handwerkskammer.
Yes.
It's yes, and I was like, okay, you teach us to make Caucasian hair, but what is with curls? And they don't hear me since 10 years, weil sie sagen immer nur weiße Haare, weiße Haare, weiße Haare.
Ja, ja.
Und man lernt nicht richtig Afrohaar, asiatisches Haar, nichts. Es ist nur weiß. Before maybe 4 weeks, I talked with my Lieferant.
The supplier.
Yes, the supplier, because I need more products for black hair, but they was like, no,
you don't have.
I was okay. It's from L'Oreal, and I was,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very big $1 million whatever brand. No, nothing for African hair. Und es ist so schwer, glaube ich, weil es ist das, was du sagst. Es ist dieser Beauty-Standard, dieses, eine Freundin von mir sie ist schwarz und sie hat auch das Problem, wenn sie in einem normalen, diese Butni-Drogeriemarkt geht. Sie findet kein Make-up.
Ja.
Und sie geht zu der Verkäuferin und sagt, hallo, wo ist das Make-up? Und sie sagt, es ist gerade ausverkauft.
Ja.
Aber es ist immer ausverkauft.
Ja. Ja.
Es ist nie ausverkauft, es wird gar nicht gekauft. Und
Ja.
das ist sehr ein sehr großes und ein sehr schwieriges Thema in dieser Gesellschaft.
Ja.
Ich glaube, dass alle, die nicht weiß sind, alle Menschen einfach immer aus diesem Beauty-Ding rausgeschoben werden.
Ja. Ja.
Und das finde ich, das ist sehr schwierig, weil nur alles, was gemischt ist, ist schön. Nur eine Sache ist nie schön.
Nee.
Also jeder Mensch ist einfach schön, aber man muss nicht immer nur eine Art Mensch zeigen, weil wir sind so viele.
Und wir sind viel und die Vielfalt mag das. Ne?
Ja, danke. Ja, genau.
Die Vielfalt. Ja, L'Oreal hat eine große Firma. L'Oreal hat in Kenia, das weiß ich, eine kenianische Firma gekauft, die Produkt für Afrikaner, die Person hat immer Produkt für unsere Hautfarbe, für unsere Haare, für unsere Kinder, die Babys und alles, hat immer diese Produkt hergestellt und die haben ein Billionengeschäft mit dieser Person in Kenia gekauft, um die Produkt von Afrikanern herzustellen. Ich muss ehrlich sagen, ich war ja in Kenia letztens, ich habe dieses Produkt extra gesucht, habe ich nicht gefunden. So, was sagt uns das? Die Definition weiß, muss aufrecht gehalten. Es muss so bleiben, dass alle, I'm in English, I'm in German only. The white race must be maintained, because what is race actually, or what is racism? Racism is prejudice and power. And giving up power is, are you ready to learn how to be without power? It is unknown terrain. Most people do not want to know. Most people have never been given those skills to learn how to navigate outside power. We saw that during the time that South Africa moved from apartheid, out of apartheid. The white people who were there, they had jobs that were reserved for them. So they never had to know how do I learn how to write a letter of application? How do I present myself for a job? No? What do I do when I see 10, 20 people waiting for the same job? They knew absolutely nothing on this part of the world, that there are jobs that, like for instance in Nigeria, like Chimamanda Adichie was saying, one job had almost 10,000 applicants, right? So they did not know. So coming to learn to navigate outside the apartheid regime is something they need to learn. But the question that most white people must ask themselves, are we prepared to give up this power? And what is this that we are holding on to in terms of power? And particularly the women. Vicky was talking about, if I may just end my conversation, Vicky was talking about the colonial, but there is, before the colonial, slave women, the children were taken away from them and sold because they were known as the black cattle. Yeah, slaves were to the whites the black cattle. They were they were the goods that they were used for farming, for doing everything for free. So a black woman's child would be taken away and sold to another person. But the woman is breastfeeding. So the white woman she doesn't have any time to breastfeed and doesn't want that breastfeeding. So she gives her child to this black woman who is having milk to breastfeed. And we all know what breastfeeding is. It is bonding with the child that you gave birth to. So you're going to find that a lot of studies currently are focusing on this aspect where we're talking about inherited traumas. Women that have never known what is to bond could not teach their children what is bonding because they never learned it. They were breastfeeding the child of the master, something they hated. So we're looking at privilege that actually people are enjoying without the right to enjoy these privileges, without the right of also to just say, We know what had happened. We saw these things, no, but always on the defensive and trying to argue their way out. No, that happened so many years ago, but it is still affecting people 100 years later, because this is always like the Holocaust is always on the dining table, always. No, it is being given down generation to generation. So when I talk about, when Vicky is talking about the colonial, we also experienced it as children of colonials. My parents experienced it. We talked about it on the dining tables. We had to navigate how to live with whites in our own country, right? So I think that when it comes to allying with us, I would just say it is very important that maybe one should just educate themselves first to find out the horrors before, the horrors now, and to think of what we do to stop those horrors in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also feel like, you know, because these structures, everything that we've talked about here today, is at the top of all that is, you know, a setup, a situation that was set up by white men, you know. So these structures may have been set up by white men that were your ancestors, you know, and I'm speaking particularly to the white women here. It was, you know, your white ancestors set this up, and you may be existing in this day and age where you're benefiting from those systems that your ancestors set up, you know.
Yes. Yes.
And what I ask of our white sisters is, you know, whether it's your brother, your grandfather, your father, your husband, your son, if they're in the situation of setting up structures that are not that impact negatively on Black women, Black families, Black communities, then it is up to the white women to ask these relatives of theirs, these grandfathers, these fathers, these brothers, these husbands, to, you know, educate them on the importance of dismantling those systems. That is true allyship. You
Yes.
know, if you're in a workplace and your boss has got these policies that are no good for non-white people, then it's your responsibility to tap your boss on the shoulder and say, look here, we've got these people working here that are not white, and these policies don't work for these people. You
Yeah.
know, you know, wherever you are, I just want to challenge white women wherever they are, you know, to look at the policies within even their politics. You know, if you're a politician, if you're a doctor, if you're a midwife, if you're a teacher, you know, even if you're a hairdresser, you know, like Tony, you know, look around and see, you know, where are we lacking? How can we help Black people? What can we do that makes it better? What is here now that is no good, you know, for non-white people, and work towards dismantling those things. That is true allyship.
Yeah. And you know, criticizing white feminism isn't about silencing anybody, particularly not silencing the white women. It's actually opening space for more diverse, to make it more diverse, and to get everybody to be heard. You know,
Yes,
so
dialogue.
that, yeah, you know, not everybody is going to eat bratwurst. There's going to be some people that are going to say, oh, me, I am Muslim, I don't eat bratwurst, but I can eat something that looks like a bratwurst if it is packed this way. So
Yeah.
we're looking for where can we get everybody to be on that boat, to be taken always along, and not some to be left behind by the virtue of the fact that maybe, like, for instance, today is for you is the holy month of Ramadan. How can we take that into consideration for a woman who is a Muslim, who is in terms of Ramadan? Should we go in and have the parents meeting during the holy month of Ramadan, when we know in the evening she must be cooking, right? So if you're a woman, a white woman, and you are seated there in one of those boards, and you know that one of your employees, one of your colleagues, who is also might sitting on that board, will not be able to attend a very important meeting simply because of this aspect, then I think it is only good that we see how can we restructure. I always want to ask the people, but not decide above their heads. Because if it is a terrain that I'm new at, I'd like to be told, I'd like to be taught, I'd like to be educated.
Yeah.
This is what Ramadan Futuru is from, to what, this is how it happens, this is what is going on. And the minute that you ask, you'll be so surprised just how easy conversations are, because the person is going to be willing to give you all as much information as possible, because they know we are gaining on our side one ally. And I think that is very important.
I think we can do much more, because we can change working times for maybe Corona or other things. But
Yes.
if I have a Angestellte, I don't know the English word.
An employee.
Employee.
Yes. Employee.
Yes. If I have employee, so I have I have a own store. I need to say that, and my employee can change their work times for those things.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if she or he is a Muslim, why can sometimes the people say we can't change, but it's just not a can't, they won't. They
Yes.
won't change things for people, but it's easy to change those things, because it doesn't matter if she or he like to cook in the evening or eat in the evening. She can start, or he can start earlier and go earlier. So I think it's often they won't, not they can't, but they always say we can't. But I think it's not right.
Oh, thank you so much, Tony, for mentioning the can and won't, because just like you said, we have the coronavirus period. Look at what has happened. Things have changed. Really?
Quick, from one to the other day. Really, because now the people, the government people, they have a pain too, and they can't hide, and then they can change in 24 hours and everything is changed. But if they see it's not equal, but they are a bit higher from this system we live in, they are not interested to change anything, so they say, oh no, we can't. And I think that's wrong. Yes.
Good. There's one last comment that I wanted to make. I always like to leave the
somebody typing there. Someone just typed.
Because it doesn't affect them, so they don't care. Yes, very true. Thank you, Natalie, for that. Yes.
What does it affect them? What is it in German?
Affect them, die sind nicht daran
interessiert. Yes.
No, they sind ja nicht Muslim, deswegen wird dieses nicht ein Problem für den sein. Das ist die Problem von die anderen Leute, die mussten sehen, wie die damit am besten klarkommen kämen.
Yeah, okay, danke. I got it.
I wanted to bring us a little bit towards the closure, and I came across a very nice statement. I just want to read it as well. It says, so not all feminists who are white feminists, but most white feminists are white because white people don't just think about things like race on a daily basis, right? We have to talk about race all the time, simply because we have to maneuver all the time around racism, white feminism. There's like I said, the race topic of race has got a lot of layers. One of them that we're now talking about is obviously the white feminisms. So not everybody who is white has white feminism. There are some people that have come out and have noted and are really working hard on it. I came across a video of two white ladies. I think there must be either British or white Americans, and they only focus on police brutality in the Black community. Only, and they talk about it and they question themselves. They're very critical about their position in terms of what are their rights. They talk about, if that was me, this would have never happened. There's a case about a guy that went with a big check to the bank and they called the police. America is famous for that. Black, he's got money, he needs to deposit the money in his account. They don't ask, they called the police. The guy was taken off, he called his lawyers. I mean, they were saying for themselves, I don't ever need to explain to anybody how much money I have and where I've got it, but we do. We have to always, be on the aloof. We are always calculating. What are the risks that if we go out today, what is going to happen? So our life is permanently on planning on avoiding those pitholes, avoiding those minefields. So that is what I wanted to say, that, yeah, because you don't talk about race on a daily. Okay.
Okay, so can I just close with
Yes, please.
just a few things, you know, just a few things that I would like to put out there, you know, and this is mainly for the white women that are white feminists, you know,
Mm.
is I'd just like to say, you know, that do your best to not distance yourself from the ugliness of whiteness, you know, dismantle whiteness by figuring out and challenging your own biases, you know. If you're someone that works in Black communities, think about how your ingrained beliefs and work practices negatively impact Black people, Black families, Black communities. Challenge your workplace, challenge your churches, challenge your government, challenge your communities if you think that Black people are not treated fairly, you know, because ultimately, um, all this affects, you know, Black womanhood. You know, us Black women, we're the gatekeepers in our communities, and if things aren't right at the top and they affect us, then they affect how we show up in our communities as mothers, how we show up as wives, how we show up even as ourselves. So, you know, I just like to challenge white women to not distance themselves from this ugly thing that we're calling whiteness, and, you know, really check your kind of feminism and explore it, and, you know, figure out what you're not doing, and just do your best to do the anti-racism work.
Mhm. Now, I've got some books. Obviously, if somebody wants to read some more books about those experiences that have been documented, this is a very nice book to start off with. She wrote a book about her experience. I think it happened in 2015, if I'm not wrong, where she was a blogger, and then she wrote this book. The book is called "Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race."
Wait,
Um,
can you make a bit higher? So I make
that
a,
that
yeah,
way.
yeah, it's
Okay.
perfect. I make a screenshot. Okay, I got it.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
And then there is White Fragility by Rennie D'Angelo. Also a great book. Let me just look at that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Is that Renee Edolodge? Yes, it is. Yes, I also got her. I also love her chapter on feminism and intersectionality. Yes, it's very good. There is also another book called White Fragility. I've got it in my shelf here. It's a book that I can also highly recommend.
Mine's
But
coming. I did it.
yeah, yes, yeah. And one that really going to talk about also the different hierarchies of the color brown, let me just call it that for lack of a better word right now, is So You Want to Talk About Race by Ijoma Oulo. Or Luo, sorry, or Luo. I'll just write it here. That one is the one that you need to really also get on, you know, as something that a very good read. So those are the three books that there are so many books out there really that people have written. The German one, which is also that one, you can also have it, is by Noah So, and she's called Deutschland Schwarz-Weiß. Highly recommend it as well. No?
Is that does that come in English?
I don't know if it comes in English. You will have to check on Amazon, but I would imagine so. I'd
Okay.
imagine, yeah. It's called Deutschland Schwarz-Weiß. Yeah, also very good. In fact, she's the one who opened my eyes again. You know, this thing about racism, like I said, in many layers, we all don't know it as well. We just also experience or get to see some of those things, and then once we also find an explanation to it is when we can actually map them. Apparently here in Germany, I don't know how it is in other countries, is that you're not going to see Black news anchor readers from 6 o'clock in the morning. You'll only see them from maybe 7 o'clock in the evening right up to maybe 11, 12 o'clock. That is when you're going to see, you know, the different shades of the color brown or going to black or whatever you want to call it. So you're going to find that somebody who is a light brown is going to read the news, and then when the person gets darker, it gets intensively into the hour much later. So the thing is, what people should also know is that we're not stupid. We are seeing, watching, and we know all this, all this that, hi Natalie, all this that is, actually being done. So I think that, that being said, if anybody has another contribution in terms of
Yeah, I have
books,
one. I
yeah,
have, oh no, in terms of books, no.
no,
Go
no,
ahead.
no contribution, yes, please.
No, I just wanted to say, again, I'd like to challenge, our white sisters, to stop protecting racist people, you know, uh, whether it's your boss, whether it's your teacher, a co-worker, your spouse, your brother, a family member, tell on them, tell the truth, break the cycle for Black people who are being exploited or mistreated by white people. There's this great trend of, people that exploit Black people and being protected, and getting away with a lot. We've seen it with the Me Too movement, where people
Mm,
that were accused of raping women, and black women, white women alike, but there were women standing up and protecting these men, saying they didn't do it, and all this sort of stuff, because they felt that they owed these people their loyalty, and so I just want to challenge, people that whenever you think someone's doing something wrong, around racism or exploiting someone or mistreating someone, um if they're Black, you need to stop protecting them, you need to report them,
mm,
and that's how the cycle breaks. Again, that's allyship, you know and
mm,
that's all I can say. Educate each other, do the work yourselves. It's not up to Black people to sit down and say what we experience and say what we feel, and try to shout about it from the rooftops. Some of that takes empathy, on our white sisters' behalf. Think about it for a minute. What would your life be like, you know, a day in Black skin? What would your life be
oh,
like? Imagine it.
oh,
Imagine going into a shop as a Black woman. Imagine a social worker coming to judge how you feed your children, how how you just mother your children, and how you do your culture, and penalize you for that.
mm,
Imagine that. And stand in our shoes, and see what you'd like to do about that. For me, that's allyship. It goes beyond just talking about stuff, and showing that you have an awareness. Let's start seeing some action.
mm,
When we speak of things that affect us under feminism, let's hear,
mm.
our white feminist sisters speak on our
Out,
issues as Black
out,
women. Show
yes,
the awareness, show
yeah.
that you're bothered about immigration policies, show that you're bothered about healthcare policies, show that you're bothered about these things that affect us. Demonstrate that you understand these issues, and you want to be in true sisterhood with us, not just this sisterhood of talking, women this and
Mm,
women that, and it's not really, you're not really including us.
mm. I also find that small little acts of alliness goes a mile. Like for instance, if I don't know whether I'm now talking to our white sisters, if you've noticed that in the train, most of the times we sit ourselves. Have you noticed?
Yes.
No,
I
you've
live,
not noticed.
I don't really take the train. I live quite close to because I go to university.
Yeah.
If I probably would if I took the train more.
Yeah. So we normally are going to sit by ourselves in the train. Nobody's going to sit next to us. Most of the blacks, particularly Black men or even us Black women, nobody sits next to us when we are on the train. That is already the silence of you not doing something is the recognition that you are racist. Why the seat is empty, the train is really full, but nobody comes to sit next to us. So we always sit like when it's a four-seater. I mean, the other day we were talking about it, I think with Vicky and Jill, and we're laughing about it and saying, well, all the better, because then we can sit and make that our office. But for somebody who is experiencing that for the first time, I remember when I experienced it for the first time, I had questions on myself, right? And like Vicky says, it is not longer our responsibility to explain to you. It is your responsibility to go and educate yourself. Because when I remember there's a girl who contacted me last week crying experiencing for the first time racism. She's in trauma. She's not going to explain to you what she has experienced because she cannot be able, she could not map what is going on. She could not understand. She saw every human being as one race. But when we come from Africa, we only know that there is one race, the human race. But we are very quickly confronted with this racism very, very fast, right?
Yeah.
So here's a young little girl. I'm packing my bag, I'm going, I can't take it. My parents have told me to go back. I can't take this, but I need to study. I wanted to study. I was really thinking this is a nice place to be in. I don't want to do this anymore. So you go through it with her, and that is what actually I am doing on the other side of Race Think Dinner, right? I'm going to be bringing these people to talk to you and let you know how is it to sit in a whole train. The seats are all packed and people are standing, but the seats next to you, nobody's going to sit in it. How does that feel emotionally? How do we cope with that, right? Because it is like if the whole train is full in Kenya or in Senegal or in Zimbabwe, everybody is black and you're white and nobody's sitting next to you. How would you feel?
Yeah.
Please turn the table. Find out, but how would it feel if it is me who everybody, do I smell? Or is it because maybe they are too scared this skin color can just drop like some, apple from a tree and suddenly everybody here is black? What is it that they're scared of? What is it that you're scared of? That is what we want with Race Think Dinner, this challenging people to find out what can really go wrong if I went, everybody else is not sitting next to that person and I go and sit. What would be wrong? Would my community, chase me away? Would I be ausgestoßen, like the way the Germans say, I no longer belong to the community? What am I risking? And if it is nothing, like I always do in my trainings, there are no plates that are going to break, then sit. See what happens, right? Because in that sitting, you have broken what Vicky is saying, a circle, right? And that is what for me, I would wish small little things that people are standing up. Like for instance, when we go shopping, we always are trailed, always.
Watch. Yeah, or for someone like me at the time like this, I'm on
Yes.
the street and someone tries to take the scarf off my head.
Yes,
How does
yes.
it affect my white sister if she's around to stand
Yeah.
up for me and do something
no.
about that?
Yeah.
And we read about that all the time,
Yeah.
women get attacked just for
Go
the way
to the shops next time. Watch when you're going to the shops. Watch if an African or black person comes in. Watch what the shopkeeper does. If you've not heard of the Serena, the code word Serena, which is used to define a black person in the shop. Just watch and see how the employees go around treating us.
And if you see it, confront them.
I beg your pardon?
And
the word that you said, what was that?
Oh, sorry.
I'm saying that if we go into like Kaufhof in a shopping mall or in a shop, in a small shopping center or whatever, watch how the employees treat us.
Yeah, but there was a word that you said. They said it was like
the code word Serena. The code word Serena is used, originated from the US, and it is being used everywhere nowadays in Europe. And it's a code word that says an African is in the house.
Okay, I'll look at that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Es gibt ein Wort, wo in einem Kaufhaus, wo Menschen sagen, wenn ein schwarzer Mensch da ist.
Yeah, it's a code word. It is coded.
So that security follows.
Yeah, so then the security follows us everywhere.
To make sure we're not stealing.
Yes. You need to just observe. It is done very discreetly. You're not going to see it unless you are out to see it. But if you didn't know and you're not out to see it, you're just going to mind your own business and do your shopping, because most people are going to say, Gott sei Dank bin ich nicht schwarz. Muss ich nicht mitmachen. Yeah, but when we go to Rossmann is very well known for it. During the coronavirus in Münster, Rossmann refused for black people to enter into the shop. In March.
What did they say?
In Münster, there's a shop that refused to let African family enter the shop. They let everybody else to enter the shop, but they were not allowed. Yeah, Halimia too.
What city was that in? Because I think I live around there.
I can give you the precise name later, but
Okay.
yeah, I
Thank
don't
you.
know.
That's
We're not
interesting.
connected on Facebook. It's on my Facebook profile. I really got pissed off about it.
Thank
It's a
you.
town near Munster. I'm forgetting the name. Starts with W, but I can give you the name. They refused that these Africans should not get inside, and everybody else was moving and doing their shopping, buying everything.
Thank you.
I think one politician from the Green Party came and really made noise, but that didn't help. They were still not allowed to get into the shop. Right. So for me, I'm always being asked by my white sisters in these terms, what can I do? I've got inboxes of people who are sending me and asking me, so what should I do? I mean, if it is an injustice and you wouldn't like it to happen to you, then don't let it happen to the other human being. So if you notice that somebody is just following a black person unnecessarily, I asked the other time when I'm sitting on a wheelchair. My wheelchair is huge, difficult to maneuver through the alleys, and suddenly I've got a big, huge security on my side, right? I get nowadays, because I'm training people, because I'm offering these workshops, I made him to be more useful. I told him, since you have to follow me around, can you take this, put this in a basket and come, let's go. Yeah. So he was following me around, right? So I managed, he did not see that I was being sarcastic. He thought that he is doing his job because, of course, he's got his own instructions. But for my own, I wanted to feel good once doing shopping. So I just thought, this is a one war that I've managed to win against this guy and their policies. And those are the policies that that Vic is talking about.
Yeah,
Some
I
are
mean,
big, some are very small.
years ago, I had an incident in Rossmond. It's like, and it was targeted at my son. He was 8 years old at the time. We went into Rossmond to buy toiletries, and as kids would do, look at this, look at that. Wander away 4 or 5 meters from me, and all of this. And I told him to go and pick up a bottle of shampoo. And as soon as he picked it up, the security came to, grab him, and accused him of trying to steal it.
Mm.
But I mean, the long and short of it is that was the last time I ever bought anything from Rossmann. When I go to Germany, I don't shop there. I go somewhere else to buy what I need.
Yeah. I mean, for the longest time, even me, I used to do my shopping in the Netherlands, because there are so many blacks, and I could at least buy trousers that fitted our booties. you know, in those days you'd go and it was like El Dorado. At long last, I'm not buying a trouser that is 2 times so big or 3 times too small, and then I've got to do the adjustments, stuff like that. It fitted, and there were products for our face, products for our hair, and stuff like that. So for me, those days, it was really like, why fight a war that you did not understand why people are like that? So you'd go and do your shopping in the Netherlands, come back feeling very well, because the first time you went shopping, it wasn't like an adrenaline, or like bungee jumping, where your adrenaline is permanently shot up because you have to watch out. You're going to be insulted. You're going to be like the Belerong. I've got a Belerong book that shopkeepers were always writing for me inside. I've got a small little red book like Malte Stone's book, where I'd get the Germans to write for me because they were always lecturing me as an adult. So I told them, okay, why don't you write? Yeah, one of these fine days I need to publish that as well. So ladies, I am so happy. I'm not sure how many we are. Oh, wow, we're quite a number online. I'm so happy that you joined. And if anybody has a topic that they would like us to talk about, because this is actually doing this together, because for me, the race thing is helping people to understand and helping to give them the tools that they can be able to use to maneuver outside the racism zone without having to feel like, the way Jane Elliott says, going through the 5 stages of grief. So that is why I think it's necessary to also be there to be supportive, because the other people who are the victims, they are not in a position mentally, physically, and otherwise to be able to help guide you to understand the pains that they're going through. Thank you so much. Would we like to just wind up by just saying a word or two how it was?
It was amazing.
Yeah, it was great. I learned a lot.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank
so much.
Thank you.
guys. It
Will
was
you be
really,
doing this
it was
again?
a lot of fun. Thank
Yes,
you.
yeah, we're going to be doing this. It is the holy month of Ramadan, so I want to also not be too much on Vicky, because I think it's always good to have two people talking as opposed to one. That is, I'm breaking off from the typical workshop method. I want to have more of these discussions where we are getting real, as opposed to be doing a presentation and calling on people to listen to me talking about the history and the what. I want this to be real. And that is why when Vicky is able to, will be spontaneously coming up and saying there's going to be these discussions, which are then going to be uploaded online so that we can still continue the discussions around it if somebody is not able to attend. And that is the intentions of all these discussions.
Thank you.
You. So it was nice meeting you, ladies, and we'll see you again very soon.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you.
Before I forget, thank you, girls on ladies. I really am enjoying the feedbacks that I'm getting back on my Instagram. If I'm not able to respond, it's because Oma is new on Instagram. So there are things, I don't know what Vicky did the other day. I've got red dots everywhere and I'm trying to figure out what are all these. I love Instagram right now. I'm understanding it, but if I'm not responding, it is not because I'm ignoring it, simply because I'm just needing a wee bit more time to, to just be able to manage or to navigate those buttons on Instagram. It's not like Facebook. So I've got to, I do need some bit of time, but I've been getting a lot of feedbacks, a lot of followers, and really amazed, particularly at the amount of synergy that is coming also from the group. So just wanted to say a word of thanks so that when I'm posting this video that everybody knows, I really appreciate what I'm getting back and all the discussions which are very, very diplomatic, no, not diplomatic, which are really very concrete, that makes it much more easier to work around. So thank you very much also for that. So bye for now, everybody, and have a lovely week.
Okay, guys.
Okay,
Have a nice
bye.
day.
Lovely week.
Okay,
Bye.
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 Nice to meet everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.